Thank you. I'm going to try to not get too close to the microphone because I have a history of making things screech. So let me know if I need to speak up. So this picture is from the finish of that marathon that Donna just mentioned, and it really was. It was a very fun day. It was a beautiful day, and with the team, we raised over $7,000. So it was pretty awesome. So for those of you who don't know me, Donna gave a brief history. But some of you know me from when I used to do a lot of hands-on intensive exercise with people with spinal cord injuries. And up in the right-hand corner, you can see I was much fitter then because I had to be. And I had the very affectionate nickname Man Arms. When you're working, trying to get them to reach their potential when they have a hard time moving their bodies. And I absolutely love doing it. Most of you know me now. In that other picture, I'm usually next to an FES bike, and I also love that. It's been a great transition for me. Donna mentioned that I've been working with neurological injuries for about 15 years. So I started doing home health and respite, and I felt like I wanted to get into the social work part of it to help people find resources and meet their best potential when something so devastating happens that you need care. So I got into social work for a little bit, and I have this little continuum of me, starting with physical, going into mental health, and I actually, for 4 years, was assistant director of a suicide prevention center. And sadly, that has come in handy getting back into spinal cord injury, but it's a devastating thing to have to deal with. I'm glad I have that experience, but I'm also glad to have that experience because I learned so much more about how people get healthy and how people take care of themselves and live to their best potential regardless of their circumstances. I worked at the center in New York right around September 11th. So I had people dealing with mental illnesses, with death, with any kind of crisis, and then September 11th happens, and my center was one of few in the area that was able to handle what was happening in the aftermath. But what I found was physical health is so intricately linked with mental health in that 4-year experience, and I really wanted to get back into mental health. I missed neurology. I missed working more one-on-one with people and making an immediate impact. So I got back into working with physical disabilities, which led me to spinal cord injuries. And my present position with restorative therapies has me in a role of sales and education and advocacy, and I really love all of it. And I love to share information that I've gathered over the years because if I can help somebody and help improve their quality of life, I'd love to do so. So one thing that I learned working with both physical and the physical and mental side is the commonality between the both of them for the best quality of life is what kind of supports you have in the community, what kind of involvements you have, what do you do outside of your work, what defines you, and what your attitude is. So Donna also mentioned the Boston Medical Center lecture that I gave, and this is what tends to happen after lunch. So they were smart not to ask me to repeat that because it was about an hour-and-a-half lecture, but you can access it on Boston Medical Center's website. This is a direct link to where the webcast lives, and what I'm going to mention about being physically ready is explained in much greater detail on the website. And of course, my cards are outside. If anyone wants to contact me directly, I'm very happy to be in touch. So I will sum it up. Health and wellness is important for everybody, regardless of who you are and what your abilities are. For spinal cord injuries, it's even more so. You're not just living a sedentary lifestyle, you're unable to do anything. So even the most sedentary, able-bodied person, they're still getting up and walking to the bathroom and getting up and going to the fridge and maybe going to their car. you don't have that ability. You're even more sedentary, and your body's not working the way that it used to. So you're at increased risk for all these nasty secondary complications: diabetes, cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis. Several of you, I'm sure, have had fractures because of bone loss or falls, or just simply getting your foot caught in something when you didn't realize. So you have a lot more to think about, and it feels very Sisyphean. So if anyone knows who Sisyphus is, that constantly, like you're fighting this uphill battle. And Jennifer asked yesterday, you know, what can we do now? Because all the curative therapies, everything's getting closer. It's like very, very close, closer, but now it's the therapies that are happening are for acute injuries, for new injuries. And most of the people that are involved in this cause have been living with this injury for a long time. So every year, everywhere I go, people want to know what's going to happen for me, what can get me out of my wheelchair. So you have a huge responsibility to take care of yourself and make sure that you're in the best physical condition you can be to meet the science halfway. Because if your body's not in good shape to accept these therapies, you're not going to be a good candidate. If you have any fever or active infection, any metabolic condition, that can disqualify you as a candidate. Any kind of physical limitation, range of motion limitations, severe osteoporosis, or if you've in the past received some sort of cell therapy, that might disclude you from being a part of the trial now. And it's kind of scary. I was speaking to somebody who I know has gone to 2 different places outside of the States to get cell treatment, and she said, well, I want to be a part of this. Why would I tell them if that's going to discount me? I said, well, they need to know. It's like taking away pertinent information from your doctor. If they're trying to do something to help you and you withhold information that could potentially be harmful, it's not going to be good for you. And you want the best quality life that you can have regardless. So you need to be honest with what has happened to you in the past and where you're at. Further, having good health is going to help you to tolerate any negative side effects that might happen. These therapies are still in their infancy. So if you're one of the first recipients of this therapy and something doesn't go as well as they plan, the better health you're in, the better you're going to be able to tolerate it. And if you're in good health, it's going to help you reap better benefits down the road. So there were 4 basic needs that I spoke about, basic physical needs to be a good candidate and what you need to do now. Proper nutrition. I'm so glad that Susan is here because in the 8 years I've been working with spinal cord injuries, I haven't found a good comprehensive guide for what kind of nutrition is best for you after a spinal cord injury. There's little pieces here and there, and actually there's a link to it at the end of my resources from the Boston Medical Center talk. But it's nice to have someone live who can answer your questions and be a resource for you if you're looking to improve your nutrition program. Healthy shoulders. This is a huge thing. There's a video loop that had been playing, and one was a commercial, that Super Bowl commercial with Christopher Reeve where he gets up out of his seat and he walks up to the podium, and I would love if any of these curative therapies provided that. But what's likely going to have to happen is it's going to be baby steps. There's going to be a lot of intensive physical therapy that needs to happen in between being the recipient of a therapy and then getting to the point of walking. So you're likely going to start with some sort of maximum assistance and then work towards the most minimum assistance or no assistance. So you'll need your shoulders to load bear, platform walker, loft strand crutches, any kind of assistive device. Once you're upright, your shoulders are going to be doing a lot of the work, so you need to take care of those guys. And there's some scary statistic that I've read even up to 100% of manual wheelchair users will have some sort of shoulder injury or shoulder pain, and that can significantly impact your quality of life and taking care of yourself. So it's important to keep those guys healthy. You need to be able to tolerate being upright. Some sort of regular standing program, whether you're using some sort of easy stand, a glider, or if you have some strength and you can stand at a bar or with some minimal assistance. If your plan is to eventually be up and walking, it makes sense that you need to be able to tolerate being upright for long periods of time. And physically fit. We don't need to be quite as fit as 5-time Mr. Olympia champion Ronnie Coleman, who's, I don't even know how much he's pressing there, but you have to have good physical health. And that ties in with nutrition. If you're really big, and I know I love food, if you're really big, that's extra work that you're going to have to do when you're upright. So it's important to watch your weight and keep fit. Again, it comes down to think about all the work that you're going to have to do when you start to move over ground again and use your body that's not used to doing this work, the better shape you're in and the more intact your muscles are, your musculoskeletal system, the better off you're going to be when these therapies happen. So I talk a lot about health and wellness because, well, I work for a company that makes a product that I think is really fantastic for helping to keep your muscles intact and stay really healthy. But there's other kinds of things that people do for health and wellness, and complementary therapies is one of them. So the definition of complementary therapies is treatments that are used alongside your standard medical care. So the things that are really well accepted, like, yes, this is beneficial. There's other things, and they're perfectly acceptable if it works for you. I know people who swear by acupuncture, people who swear by hyperbaric chamber, different kinds of Eastern, Western medicine, Reiki, energy healing, and all that is really up to you. You have to figure out what's going to work for you. But complementary therapies and health and wellness really is looking at you from the whole picture, not just what we know is going to be helpful to you once you've suffered a spinal cord injury, but also looking at you as a person and what works for you in your lifestyle, what makes sense for you based on who you are, who you were before your injury, who you continue to be, what's going to work in your daily routine. So the overall importance of both of these, of course, the primary goal is maintaining your physical health and wellness, but there is a ton of secondary benefits, all relating to quality of life. So greater independence. If you can prevent shoulder pain, it's going to keep you independent longer. If you can stay strong and transfer yourself or care for yourself, that leads to greater independence. Exercise so greatly improves your mental outlook. Just feeling better regardless of your situation. Having some sort of outlet, feeling good. If you take care of your body, it impacts every other part of your daily routine. How you feel when you wake up in the morning, your quality of sleep at night. This community in general, the support from everybody is unbelievable. It's one of the things that I have continued to love working in this community. And there's people here at this conference that I haven't seen in over 5 years, and it's so fantastic for me to see them, everybody doing so well and still taking care of themselves and living life and still supporting the community. And I've seen such just wonderful things that people do for each other and the way that they help each other out. No one hoards information, keeps it to themselves if they think it could help somebody else. Once somebody doesn't need their standing frame anymore, they find out who else they can give it to. It's such a tremendous community, so it's nice to be a part of that. And also in finding other things for health and wellness, you create new supports, even outside of this community. People that you might not have thought you had anything in common with before, but you find a new activity that you like, and suddenly you have this thing that joins you, and you have a greater social circle. And that's really beneficial for quality of life. So unlike some things, one size does not fit all. So if I were to tell you what works for me, maybe it's not going to work for you. You say, well, that's great. But you need to find what fits for you. It has to be fun. It has to match your lifestyle and interests. It may be something really extreme, and every time I see videos of this guy doing this stuff, it makes me cringe. But fantastic for him. Hand cycling, surfing. For people who are really busy, you can make it work at home if you're dedicated to it. This home gym in the upper left-hand corner is someone who I know. I think his insurance may have covered his standing frame, but the other stuff he pieced together off Craigslist, off the CareCure forums, because he wanted exercise at home. He has a full-time job. He has a social life. Fitness is important to him. He made it work. The FES bike, there's a whole ton of people who end up getting it through their insurance at home or find ways to raise money to have it in a community center. They make it work for them because it's important for them. So there's a saying that I like. If you have a strong enough why, you can endure anyhow. You can figure out anyhow. So I've heard every kind of excuse for why people can't get into a routine. You really need to make it happen. You have to take the first step and start. So I talk about all the equipment that you can get for home, if that's what works for you. Find out what your insurance may cover, because I find so many people didn't even realize that they can get certain equipment at home because no one ever told them about it or exposed them to it. But use your community. I know for myself, I used to develop fitness programs for people who are very busy, and I have a book probably about this fat. I never do anything at home. I have to be in a gym. So for me, that's important. And I think it's important for everybody too. It's that socialization aspect. You feel good. Maybe you don't feel like doing it, but you have a friend who's going to meet you there and you're accountable. Now I work with clinics all in the northeast of the United States, and I have a few community centers, YMCAs, that have adaptive fitness programs. And the only reason that they're in existence is because somebody raised their voice and said, I want something in here. I want to be able to use this fitness equipment too. I want to be able to use this community center. And they started it. It was articles and papers to raise awareness. And then they'd find other people who could benefit from adapted equipment, people in the community who have MS and stroke. It's not just spinal cord. So why shouldn't you have access to this? The most important thing is to get started. You have to find something that motivates you. You need goals. My main motivation is I love to eat. You see the joy on my face with 2 pieces of cheesecake. But when you set goals, a lot of things happen along the way. The major reason for setting a goal is what it makes of you to accomplish it. What it makes of you will always be the far greater value than what you get. In this interim, while these very smart and wonderful and dedicated people are working on trying to find some sort of therapy to get you up out of your chair, you need to have a full and good life and other goals, other short-term goals in between those long-term goals. So what motivates you? This, aside from food, this is what motivates me. And I'm always learning about new things that are out there. I just learned recently there's a sailing program that you can actually crew a boat with a sip and puff. I think that's the coolest thing. And in the middle, for those of you who don't know, that's John and Marilyn's son, Noah. So again, I'll repeat, if your long-term goal is that you're working to walk, first thing is awareness. This is such a fantastic forum, conference for gathering information, for picking brains of people who have a lot of really great information who are going to help you. But you need to be prepared if it is your goal to get from sitting to being upright. So you need to be healthy now to be ready for the future and figure out what's best for you. There's a ton of resources that you'll find everywhere. I wanted to add some extra ones. Reeve's got some great stuff. CareCure's got some great stuff. There is a motivational speaker who himself has a T-level injury for 25 years, who is a life coach and a speaker, and he's wonderful. If you need any kind of guidance, I highly recommend him, Scott Chesney. And then there's a few things that I check pretty frequently. happynews.com. I get my motivational quote of the day. I get the good news that's going on, because I sit down. I have about a 5-minute tolerance for the news, because everything's negative. So people are always doing good things, and I like to hear about it. happynews.com. I don't know if any of you have seen that YouTube video with the guy who has no arms and no legs. It's no arms, no legs, no worries. He's got a little flipper. But he goes around and talks, and he's got motivational stuff on his website. So sometimes that's a good reminder. And any of those big billboards that you've seen, values, pass it on, teamwork, pass it on. There's great stories on that website, and I recommend checking it out. My contact information, again, my cards are out there, and thanks so much.
Visit u2fp.org for more coverage from Working to Walk and the latest in spinal cord injury news.